added spokes are locked in place with 2 rows of weaving, and it's time to create the hump on the inside of the basket. So we'll take these added spokes and flip them over and place that right on your knee. And you want to press down, rotate and press down, and you're creating a cone shape in making this raised base. You may notice that some of these rows are loosening up a bit, and at this point, if you'd like to, you can take a packing tool and go back a couple of rows and work those stitches forward. I believe with this one I'm just going to go on with it here. I like to weave on the side opposite myself, and as I continue to weave, I'm going to stay on my knee for a couple of rows, and the split spoke helps me identify that. I am increasing the tension of the weaver, pulling it tight to help set the shape. So I just rotate the basket around, push the previous rows up a bit if I need to. Keep the tension tight as I work around. I'm getting close to the split, so I've almost completed one round. Maybe tighten up these previous rows here by pushing them up toward the center. You can use your fingertips or a packing tool to do that. So I've completed one round. Back to the split. One more round, and I can see that I'm going to need a new weaver before I get around the second time. I'm working on the inside of the basket now, and that means I've got the rough side of the material up. So when I splice in my new weaver here, I'll need to turn the weaver with the rough side up. Again, I want to trim the weaver at the edge of the spoke. Check my new weaver. Smooth versus rough. It's going to be a 4-spoke overlap, so I like to come in on top of that second spoke back and then just judge the length that that weaver needs to be before tucking it underneath the spoke. And continue on. Remembering that I'm keeping some tension on this weaver as I go around on my knee. So I'll come to the split. That completes my second round. And I'll just go a couple of stitches past the split. Now let's check it and see if the base is pretty well set. We can look underneath, and you want to see that your spokes are holding the shape up there. And we want to check it on the table too. So let's put this back on the table. Spread the spokes out. Press the base downward. And the basket should hold its shape. If it doesn't, you can put it back on your knee, shape it a little bit more, and go another round or two, increasing the tension. I would say that base is maybe about 3 inches tall. So your base could be holding its shape and be firm even if it was a little bit shorter or a bit taller. These shapes of the base will vary from one weaver to another. Our next job is just to continue weaving as the base flattens out here until the basket measures about 10 inches in diameter. So holding the basket on the table, continue to weave. And you don't want to press down really hard in the center. You're more just holding and supporting it as you weave around. Adjusting those spokes a little bit if you need to. So we're beginning to look at the space between all of the spokes and evening it out as we continue to weave. The double bottom and the raised base makes this a really strong basket. That way you can carry a lot of weight in it and the weight is evenly distributed around the edge of the base. I continue to weave around until the basket is about 10 inches in diameter. And this is the point where I want to start bringing the sides of the spokes up and creating that really nice rounded base. So I'll take a spray bottle and at the edge of the base I'll spray the spokes. And I like to flip over and spray the underside as well. And once the spokes have time to absorb that water a bit, I'm just going to roll each one with my thumb just to get it accustomed to coming up as opposed to laying flat. So I go around each and every spoke and roll it upward. I'm stretching the fibers out a little bit, making it easier for the spoke to turn up right at the edge of that base. We're not putting a hard crease in these spokes, we're just stretching the fibers out a bit. The next step is to cradle the basket and bring those spokes on up. And we're going to do this by holding it in our arms as well as increasing the tension on the weaver. And I like to weave with the weaver opposite of myself, so I'll just bring the basket up into my arms, hold the spokes against me, and press this down in. Maybe turn it a bit more to get started. As I continue to weave, I will keep tension on that weaver to help bring the spokes up. And it usually takes about 2 or 3 rounds of tension. And again, I can use my split spoke as my marker. Keep that tension. I really love this rounded shape, the base of the basket. So I've gone around once. And again, I want to take 2 or 3 times around, keeping the tension. I'm just checking over here that I'm allowing the spokes to roll up at the edge of the base and not putting a lot of pressure on them and having the basket to turn up back in this area. And I'm back to the split for round 2, but my end is not long enough to go over 4 spokes without including the split, so I'm going to cut this weaver here and splice on another one. So I've trimmed the end of the old weaver here. Again, I'm checking that I've rough side up on the material, overlapping on 2 spokes, adjusting the length so that this end fits right under that spoke. And I might want to put a clip on here because I'm putting extra tension and cradling still. A clip will help hold that. Clips or clothespins. And right back to the cradling. I've gone a couple of rounds with cradling, and I'll probably go a couple more before I check and see that the sides of the base are rounding upward. Keeping tension on the weaver, holding those spokes up as I come around. Happy that I've already made it around twice. Just got a couple more rounds to go. Continue on until I've done this for 4 rounds. I'm coming around and finishing up my 4th round. Getting some good tension here. Coming a couple of stitches past my split spoke. And now I'm going to lay the basket on the table for the next step. So let's try to see what kind of tension that we've had. I'm just going to go around and gently press down. I can also press up from the outside all the way around a couple of times. I want the basket to turn up evenly all the way around. I've got a stitch that's a little bit loose here, so I can work it around just a bit, tighten it up. Again, I can use my fingers or I can use a packing tool. I'm going to come on around. And before I continue weaving, I'm going to make a guide with my inside rim, and that guide will help me to get the size that I want at the top, which is 12 inches, so that the 12-inch swing handle will fit.